Hello there, and welcome to the podcast with SerAaron and Friends. I'm your host, SerAaron, also known as William, and these are my two friends, Brian.
Hello.
And Dave.
I'm the best one.
And I'm also joined this week by Rob.
Hello.
Is this the guy who wants... You said he was going to replace me. Is this the guy? Is this the guy?
You got one episode left, that's all.
No, Rob isn't replacing anybody, he's just a guest this week.
Not replacing anyone yet.
Keeping an eye on this guy.
And just for this occasion, I've composed a nice little poem for Rob.
Ooh.
He sways in the breeze, he's a bit of a tease, and he doesn't like Chinese people. That took 2 hours.
Actually true, but thanks. I appreciate the
The
effort.
most accurate poem I've ever heard.
It was beautiful, I'm actually crying right now. Tears just pouring down my face.
If I could throw a bunch of flowers at you, I would.
Alright, Rob, how about you properly introduce yourself to anybody listening?
I'm Rob. Some of you out there who may know me as one half of Rocking Gecko Productions, small-time YouTube publisher.
Big time, they're hitting big time soon.
Yes, I wish. Basically, I'm into all sorts of video games. I play a lot of League of Legends, it's pretty much me. There isn't much else to say.
That guy's voice is really good. He should replace me.
So Rob's basically an old friend of ours. I've known Rob for a few years, and since meeting Brian and Dave, they've known him for about a year now, I'd say. Right?
Since meeting Brian and Dave on the streets.
Since just picking them up
Just
in a
bumping
bin.
into them casually.
Yeah, so we've known each other for a while, so this is like, Rob isn't just some random person off the internet.
Random person finals.
Didn't just pick me up out of the gutter.
Yeah,
That's for
yeah.
next week's episode.
That's when we bring an actual hobo on.
Hello everyone,
Or just-
meet Derek.
He wrestles the microphone because he thinks there's drugs inside it.
Let me out.
What's going on then? What's up, guys?
Yeah.
What's happening? What's the know-how? Break it down for me, Will.
Well, if you're a regular listener, viewer, then you'll probably realize that there's no game footage this week, and the format has changed slightly. And
The main screen has now been replaced with a giant picture of Rob's face.
Please do that.
I've not decided what I'm gonna do yet, but I guess by the time this video goes up, I will have
50 Shades of Peter Molyneux.
So now we're not 3 guys and a video, we are 4 guys
and
and
nothing.
an empty space.
The void.
So meta.
Well, I guess that's kind of a good place to start talking about, actually. Like, the reason I'm changing the formula is because I don't know how many people listening to this know this, but like, I'm mostly an artist, like, in everything that I do, and especially recently, I've been getting very bored of doing the same thing all the time. So pretty much every new piece of art that I make, I like change the stylization and everything. So nothing I make is the same as something else that I make most of the time. So I'm basically applying that to the formula, applying that to the podcast now. So hopefully it'll work.
So strap yourselves in. Be a helter-skelter ride.
You're in for a roller coaster
Every
ride.
concurrent week, we're just going to add a new person. It's just going to become a room full of people shouting at each other.
No, it won't be every...
No, Will's going to make it so we do sign language. It's just sounds of like...
Oh, no visuals, just the sound of sign language. Beautiful. No, it won't be changing like every week. It'll just be like every 9 or 10 episodes, I'll change the formula again.
So you're safe. Don't leave us, for the love of God.
You gotta spice that shit up.
Yeah, variety is the spice of life and all that. Well, shall we start talking about like what we've been doing recently?
Talking of spice of life, what's happening in your life, Rob?
My life?
Yeah.
I've been playing a lot of Batman Arkham Origins.
That game. Oh, because okay. I know that game went on sale, and I bought that for $29.99.
Yeah.
That game sucks.
What is it? I haven't heard of it.
Arkham. It's the third. It's the third Batman game of the Arkham series, but it's not made by Rocksteady, and you can tell.
Well,
yeah, it's meant to be a prequel. It's sort of a precursor to the Arkham Asylum, because it's basically about the origins of the Joker in the.
I thought it was going to be the origins of Bruce Wayne, because I was so sick of them ramming Joker into the storyline because it's popular.
It does feel kind of forced. That's
not to mention, I kind of used to his designs in 1 and 2, so when they redesigned him to make him look like this short-haired punk-style Joker, I didn't like it at all, and I was more interested in being like, this could be like a Batman Year One, if you've seen the animated series of that, where he's just started being Batman and he's fucking everything up, like avoiding to kill people and like accidentally punching a guy and almost making him fall off a ledge so he catches him and then like falls down and damages his back and stuff. Like stuff like that. Like playing a vulnerable Batman would be amazing. I think it'd be really interesting.
As much as I enjoyed Arkham Origins for the game, I did feel that it lacked a lot of things that could have been done really well.
It messed up the free roaming aspect, especially the city. The city is so less detailed than Arkham City. There's a lot of little nuances in Arkham City that make it really interesting to explore, but it just feels like literally the map is 2 sides and a gigantic bridge that you have to cross every time if you want to get to one side to the other, which is like a really bad loading screen.
The whole thing with the map being split into 2 sections and having the bridge, the map is about twice the size of the Arkham City map, but it's got half as much detail, and the Gotham Pioneers Bridge basically is just a huge interactive loading screen. Yeah,
it's a loading screen, yeah. It's stupid because it just adds a bunch of time to travelling, and it forces you to fast travel, which I never did in Arkham City because it was fun to explore.
Do you guys know why it's not made by the proper people that should have made it?
Yeah, it's Warner Brothers owns the license to it.
Yeah.
Rocksteady is working on the next-gen version. But I think they wanted, because they're video games and they wanted to push out a game, they gave it to Warner Brothers studio.
Yeah, Rocksteady took a break to work on something else, is what I understand.
They're working on the next gen Batman Arkham game, Arkham Knight or whatever.
Oh right.
Which I'm looking forward. I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. Like I was saying earlier in a conversation with some guys that basically if they take what they did wrong in Arkham Origins and turn it around, but keep the whole larger world, more environmental stuff.
Yeah, I think
it could be improved.
Free roaming games always need to understand that a bigger world doesn't mean a better world.
Yeah.
Surely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of free roaming games that have quite a small world, even like considered a hub world, and it's more complete because there's more detail put into it than just a barren wasteland that is there just for you to travel and extend the playtime.
Yeah.
Fallout 3.
Fallout 3 was good because it actually was.
I think
New Vegas was more than a barren wasteland than Fallout 3.
I'd say the worst example, if we're talking about Bethesda, is Oblivion. Oblivion was empty. There was no reason to explore Oblivion.
Hey, there were lots of copied and pasted dungeons, Will.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, everything in Oblivion was copy-pasted. Like, if you travelled for, 10 minutes, you would wind up in the same place you were, but you'd still be further along in the map. you'd see the same trees, the same caves, and you'd be like, did I go around in a circle? How is that even possible? I went in a straight line.
I think it was just because that was one of my first big free roaming games. I never really noticed that.
Yeah, I did really enjoy it at first, and I put a lot
Yeah,
of
yes. Well,
That was
same.
not a game where I walked around and thought, what do I do?
No, but
That never happened.
But like going back to Oblivion after Fallout and Skyrim, like it's
It's a big
fucking
mistake.
empty. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that happens, yeah.
But Oblivion's huge.
quite an old game when you think about it. It's
The
almost-
Oblivion
it's 10
map
years
is
old.
huge compared to Skyrim. Like you can like horse across Skyrim in about 10 minutes, but it takes like 20 or 30
Horse.
minutes
Is that a verb
in Oblivion.
now?
Yeah,
Funny
that's
you
a
should
verb
say
now.
that.
That's when you just grind the horse along the floor.
I had
Yeah, that's when
Oblivion
you
on the-
slide horses up mountains.
Horsing.
Yeah.
Got a horse to stop.
I had Oblivion on the PC, and you could edit the stats of creatures. So I edited the stats of my horse, so it had like athletics max, jumping max, tons of like speed boosts.
Yeah.
And I could literally skim across the water and cover like half the map in about 10 seconds. It would just be like, "Whoa!"
I remember editing my jump height in Oblivion and jumping out of cities.
Good.
Only to find there's
I-
nothing on the other side.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
It's all like broken textures and half landscapes and shit.
Now you see, the first time I owned it on console. Boo hiss. And my first experience of getting out of
easy.
a city was stacking paintbrushes on top of each other to climb out of a city.
Wow.
What?
That took
What?
a long time.
Paintbrushes.
Must have collected a lot of paintbrushes.
Well,
You are playing the game all wrong.
You know there's missions in Oblivion.
This is my one purpose. Just get all the paintbrushes.
well, you see, that's my fallback in games like that. I always play thieves, so I always just go around stealing useless junk and then going, "What is my inventory for?"
I
Full of bloody paintbrushes.
I like to think of it better as just like you go around every town buying all the paintbrushes out of everybody's stocks, and like your only reason for adventuring is to get more money to buy more paintbrushes. And then you circle around, you go through all the cities, you get back to like the Imperial City or something, you go into the shop and you're like, "Hello, do you have any more paintbrushes?" And you're like, "We're sorry, we're still sold out."
There's a mass paintbrush shortage, I'm sorry. I can't feed my daughter now. I can't paint shit.
And you're just like, "I need them. I need the paintbrushes."
I have an abnormal need for paintbrushes.
So yeah, that's Arkham Origins for you.
Paintbrush collections in 2014.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Arkham Origin is an odd game. I always felt that it kind of spoiled the sort of trifecta of the nice Rocksteady games.
Yeah.
It kind of tarnished slightly the series.
Not to put it down as like
It's not a terrible
Yeah,
game, but it's not as good
it's
as
not a
the
terrible
first
afraid
game.
about
It's
putting
just
games
full
down.
of promise,
Yeah.
and it doesn't really deliver.
A game of like lost potential.
Indeed.
Yeah, you can.
Something I've been
it's-
hearing a lot lately, actually.
Yeah, it's good to know that it's not like it wasn't just a bad series. It was just the studio isn't as good as Rocksteady. You can tell the passion Rocksteady has for their
Yes.
games because of the detail that goes into them.
I do believe a topic has formed in my brain.
I thought we
because-
weren't calling them topics.
Shh, you're not
I
supposed to
thought we
say
didn't
that.
thought we didn't refer to Brian's brain like that.
Damn. Yeah, you said you games of lost potential is a thing that keeps kind of happening a lot these days.
Yeah.
Is that because we're getting a lot more news about games from developers via Twitter, Facebook pages, and all that, as opposed to when we're kids, and the only news we have about it are either in demo CDs or in magazines? Because I remember before Majora's Mask came out, all I knew about it was these couple of screenshots where it has a fish with a guitar, and I was like, oh my god, that looks amazing.
This game is mine.
But they're giving us almost too much before we actually get the game, which can hype it up a little too much.
I think it's a combination of there's like too much information about a game. But I don't know, I'd say at the same time that's not necessarily a bad thing, because making informed decisions about where to spend your money is a good thing. But I feel like, not that studios are getting lazy, but well, some studios are.
Infinity Ward.
Or like a lot of, you know, mobile games and shit. But I don't know, I think I do like that aspect of, like, you know, game devs and like being able to look into the process and shit through social media. At the same time, I don't think like all of it should be on display.
Yeah, there's definitely been a few cases where they've shown a lot of the best parts of the game through trailers or gameplay previews.
Yeah.
Maybe not like inherently ruining the game, but kind of softening a lot of the "oh wow" sort of experience you get.
Yeah, I mean,
when you first play it.
I think that there's been very few wow factors recently when I've been playing games, because they've been like pre-spoiled. But it's the same with fucking films. Like,
Yeah,
you watch a
trailers all the
trailer for a
time.
film and you finish watching, if it's an extended trailer, you finish watching it and you're like, well, I don't need to see the film now.
A good example is actually the trailer to Ground Zeroes. That pretty much explains the whole thing.
Yeah.
In a sort of abridged version.
Yeah.
Like, I watched it all.
I haven't
in
seen
the
it, but I
end.
can't imagine them doing that.
Well,
Do you mean explains the whole
nothing is
thing
really
gameplay-wise or
added.
story-wise?
well, nothing really happens in Ground Zeroes.
Yeah,
It's just
nothing
it's,
happens that isn't really.
It's, I mean, stuff does happen, but it's a lot of like predictable shit. Like if you know how the timeline of Metal Gear Solid works, and you follow, and like then you can predict that like what's going to happen in Ground Zeroes.
Yeah.
Which I
that
guess is
reminds me.
kind of the problem with making a game set in a predetermined timeline. There's not
Yeah.
going to be any spoilers or anything.
But yeah, I only just noticed that they replaced the voice actor for Ocelot as well.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense, because...
Yeah, but did
Yeah.
they do it for everyone?
No.
And the thing is, I wanted some sort of continuity, at least maybe accent-wise or whatever, between young Ocelot and old Ocelot, because, you know, Big Boss knew him when he was younger. Now he's grown older and he's still in contact with him.
Well,
I wouldn't want his whole kind of nationality to change.
well,
his
Ocelot
voice.
was like a triple agent or something originally.
Yeah. Like in
Yeah, but
Metal
then
Solid
why
3,
speak
he's
fluent
supposed
like
to.
American? And
Well,
Metal Gear
there
Solid 3.
there was always that weird thing in Metal Gear Solid 3 where you were in Russia and everyone was talking American English.
yeah.
So I don't think you can get that worked up over Metal Gear Solid 3
I can get it worked up
without
as I
getting
know.
worked up over the whole thing.
If I have to do it, I'll do it.
I'd say because Ocelot disappears for like 3 games in between Metal Gear Solid 3 and Phantom Pain, like I'd say that there's like, you don't need a transition. It's not like David Hayter to Kiefer Sutherland. Like, that's like an instant. There's no transition. That's really annoying. But no, I'd
It's
say the
always
thing
kind
with
of hard
Ocelot.
to do with changes and transitions and things like that. Because I remember when I was a kid and I saw the early Wind Waker graphics, and I was like, "Wow, these are really good." It's like a more realistic kind of Twilight Princess-y look to it. And then they switch it around and they're just like, "Here, it's cell shaded." I was really pissed off about that.
I don't
Really?
I don't know. Well,
Wait, you're talking about the Space World 2000 graphics, where like really basic rendered models of them fighting.
I was no. Haven't you guys seen it? It had like a thing of him
No,
fighting Ganondorf or something.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The Space World footage. Yeah,
I don't know.
it's like
it was
really
a photo in
plasticky,
a
old
magazine.
rendered. Yeah.
And obviously I was younger and we hadn't seen graphics like we have today, but when I saw them I was like, damn.
I don't remember ever being hyped because I knew what like the games already looked like, so I'd assume it would look something like the N64 version. But I was actually more surprised when they revealed something all new. And then, of course, everyone thought it was going to be a kids' game.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I never understood the stigmatism towards Wind Waker, but
No.
it's probably because I was a kid when I got Wind Waker.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I have to make a confession when it comes to Wind Waker. Is when I first saw it revealed, I didn't actually realise that it was a Legend of Zelda game. So I sat there going, "Oh, this game looks pretty cool. It reminds me of Legend of Zelda." And then I bought it, and I was like, "Oh,
This game is
These guys are ripping off my game, man.
I've been fooled. I know I got it when it came out, but I appreciate it more now for its style.
yeah, definitely.
Especially looking back at like the HD
Yeah, the
version
HD
and just how
version's amazing.
well it holds up just by being upscaled and slightly added filters to make it look all nice
It's kind
and
of like
shiny.
how I mentioned Okami in the last
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
And that
like,
style, the HD
stylization is timeless compared to just very
yeah.
good graphics.
Because if they
Absolutely.
release it as realistic and then 10 years down the line, you're just like, what?
Yeah, it's not like the whole idea of muddy graphics. It's like when you're trying to be realistic, but you know it's going to be better in the long run. You're going to get better graphics later on. While that, you can't really improve that. Like, what they're going to do, make a super duper retextured HD version. Like it just ruins the style of it.
Yeah. Wind Waker's like my favorite Zelda, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's my.
I
Wind
spent
Waker's been
so
my
much
favourite.
time just fucking around, just going where I wanted,
Yeah,
messing
that's-
around, creeping up on people. Because you could do the little crawl thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it goes. Doot, doot, doot.
And the sidle, or whatever that, however the hell
Siddle.
you say that.
Siddle."
Siddle.
Siddle.
I always misread it as slide.
Yeah.
And then I was
Slidle.
like, and then I
Slide.
properly read it, and I was like, wait, that says Siddle. What the fuck is a Siddle?
Oh no!
How do I wagger?
Where are the waggle controls?
And I used to mess around with the Tingle Tuner as well. More games need that kind
Oh
of.
yeah. The Tingle Tuner was basically, here, have a bunch of Easter eggs that you can only play with if you have a Game Boy Advance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to piss my brother off so much by he'd basically be sailing and fighting like a massive octopus or something, and then I'd just press A
And blow 'em
miles
up.
away, so it forces his camera over there, and it just goes, "Hey!"
Oh, wait, yeah, that one. Yeah. Well, there was the other one where you could use, like, your own bomb stocks to deposit bombs.
Yeah,
And my brother would just use all of my hard-earned bombs and blow me up while I was
and it
trying
took
to
your cash
sail
as well
around.
for some of them. So I'd spend everything, and he'd be like, "Oh, I really need to buy." Oh, thanks, man.
Item drops were a lot lower in the first iteration. The HD remake, like, item drops are so ridiculously high that you don't even need to buy anything anymore.
Yeah.
Like, rupees have no value in the new
Why do they
version.
keep
Yeah.
doing this to HD
Yeah,
collections?
that's
They're
like-
like, let's alter the gameplay, even though
Yeah, why-
we're kind of advertising it as a high definition thing. They should just subtitle shit.
That kind of like, it'd be really cool if you're out of equipment and you have to actually sail to get equipment.
Yeah,
again.
well,
just sail back to town.
That's what I had to do, like, occasionally. I'd be like, shit, I'm out of bombs.
Yeah. I've spent so much time on Windfall Island going, right, have I got everything I need
Yeah.
before I leave?
It felt like packing up and going on an adventure, whereas, like,
Yeah.
I've been, like, watching, or I've watched a few Let's Plays of, like, the HD version, and they're just like, alright, where to next? Like, immediately after they get off Dragon Roost or whatever. Because they don't need to stock up on items. They've finished the island and they're already fully stocked because they killed one enemy. It's kind of ridiculous.
Why do they make new games so easy?
I thought that was just going to end at new games.
Why do they make
new
Why do people
games?
That's a
make
valid
new
point. I can't fucking run them on my laptop, so I just play old things from the 90s, 2000s, or whatever. But they're good games.
come to think of it, I've been playing a lot of retro things recently. Like, I've been playing Pokemon Red, I've been playing System Shock. I've been going back to my roots a lot.
Yeah. I was, like a couple of months ago, I tried to play System Shock 2 with my brother online, but we never really went anywhere with it. But that's a game that I would love to play co-op. And I did that with Unreal as well.
That's a game I wouldn't mind seeing. I know they don't exist anymore, but like if Irrational Games really wanted to take a shot at redesigning System Shock,
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
that I wouldn't mind them trying to do that. That'd be cool.
See, I'd have the paralyzing fear that they Bioshock Infinite it and make it
Yeah,
really
they turn it
simple
into a
and be
first-person
like,
shooter
No, this game is meant to be hard as nails. You are meant to die.
Yeah, I saw the intro video for Bioshock Infinite for some reason. No idea why I was watching it. And you know wait a minute, that card. I had no idea it was like right in front of his face, right at the start. This crudely drawn, stupid-looking thing. Why would you do that?
Ring the bell. Oh my god.
I've been playing the DLC, and it's very interesting.
Yes,
'cause you get to
I
play
have
as
it.
Elizabeth, and it's a lot more stealth-based now, which is cool because I always thought it worked a bit better than just running around, guns blazing,
Yeah.
killing all these things. It's a bit better because it also works with her character because she's independent, but she's not like, I'm gonna kick everyone's ass. She's like, if I do this, they might actually kill me, and she feels more fragile because she seems to have less health.
Yeah.
Like, she can't take many shots, so you kind of have to stay away. And all this time, you're kind of staying behind cover. There's just a big daddy walking around the level at all times.
Yep, and you can't touch him.
Yeah,
He is
and you
literally
can do stuff like you can use a vigor to kind of mind control him and make him attack other enemies, and like you can do that to kind of clear away. If there's tons of people just sitting around, just mind control the big daddy, and he goes ape shit, kills everyone, and as he walks off, you just kind of jump down and kind of pitter patter to the area you need to get to,
Yeah.
and like loot the bodies to get some like crossbow darts so you can tranquilize people.
Oh.
It's really good. I'm enjoying it so
That
far.
sounds cool.
I had
a
two
very good
things
change
that
of
I
pace.
really enjoyed about the Burial at Sea Part 2. Was the fact that, firstly, they went back to their standard like Bioshock, System Shock roots, and they got rid of the shield mechanic. Because I hate the shield mechanic. I'm not a fan of regenerating health in a lot of games.
Me,
Yeah.
Especially tactical difficulty games like Bioshock. So, when that went, I was like, yes! Thank you for that. No idea why Booker DeWitt had this magical shield that could ignore all damage. But the second part was adding into the thing about Elizabeth being incredibly vulnerable. Elizabeth can't do what you could do with Booker in the other games, and when you just get swarmed, just melee your way out. Because that was how I... Basically, if I got overwhelmed, I was just like, fuck it, press Y a bunch of times.
Yeah, you can only stun them now.
Yeah, Elizabeth can only stun people in combat, and the stun lasts a very, very short period. Like, it's literally enough to get yourself out of their attack range, or maybe dodge a bullet or two. And she can only stun them really... She only knocks them out from behind, so you've got to sneak up on them or use your stealth. And that whole mechanic, I found myself approaching things in different ways to the way I did in Bioshock. For example, I remember a lot of, in Bioshock 2, wide open areas were very much a friend because you had a lot of maneuvering room for taking on things like Big Daddies, and you could just go toe-to-toe with them. Whereas in Bioshock Infinite Burial at Sea, I found myself sticking a lot more to like the tight vents and the close corridors and things, which in and of itself is a lot more claustrophobic because when you come around a corner face to face with a splicer and he's looking for you and he's got a gun, that's when the game really starts to become nerve-wracking.
It's definitely, especially when you look at it compared to Bioshock 1, where there are parts when people would just turn around and you just shoot them in the face and carry on. But this one, they've got a gun and about one or two shots could probably kill you. And you have to use... And your plasmids are a lot more stealth-based and utility-based.
Yeah.
They're not like, set him on fire or electrocute them, go invisible or take this guy's mind so he attacks other people.
Yeah. Well...
So it's very cool.
Yeah, that was one thing I found. I found myself actually role-playing Elizabeth quite well during that playing Burial at Sea, because without spoiling too much, she's very hesitant to kill people. She wants to avoid killing them as much as possible. So I took that to heart, and I didn't use any of the lethal weapons.
Mm.
And it felt a lot more fulfilling, I think.
I think I actually shot someone, and she actually says, "Oh God," when you killed them.
Yeah, she
actually whispers to herself,
does a little
"Oh
bit
God,"
of dialogue with herself.
because there was one point where I messed up a melee kill, and he turned around, and then I was like, "Oh shit, gotta melee him," and I only stunned him, so he stunned, walked backwards. I moved backwards a bit, and then shot him in the head, and I was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
I have I don't know. You guys seem to like Bioshock, so maybe this isn't the best place to say it, but I really don't like Bioshock.
Well,
like the series.
The whole
Does
series.
Ken Levine intimidate you?
The whole series, I just can't get into it. I never have. I think it was a combination of Bioshock 1 getting too hyped for me. Everybody was praising Bioshock 1 as this a godsend of a game, and I played it and I was like,
It was a godsend of a game at that time in a market full of bad
yeah,
games.
I played it 5 years after it came out.
Yeah, back then it was like, we finally got a game in the next gen consoles that we can say is of the high tier and isn't just a crappy let's release this to make some money third person or first person shooter.
I always wanted to play it a lot sooner, on console, but my parents were always very strict about game certificates and shit.
Really?
So I couldn't. No, I wasn't allowed to play 18 games until I was 18. So yeah, I just didn't. I wasn't able to play it for the longest time, and then I got into PC gaming, and so it was only a year after getting a PC gaming console. A PC gaming PC. That I actually sat down and started playing Bioshock, and I think if you recall what we were talking about last week, Brian, about going into a game with not necessarily a mindset, but a persona to put onto your character.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I was wanting to do that, but I just couldn't find one that worked for this character that I was playing in Bioshock.
Was it Bioshock Infinite?
No, the first one, original Bioshock. I just nothing, and I think it's because in the end of the game, he winds up being super important or something. I can't even remember. But all I remember is I was Bioshock 1 starts you're in a plane crash, and then there's a lighthouse, and you go down the lighthouse, and then you're in Rapture. And all I was thinking was, dude, I just survived a plane crash. What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on? Why should I listen to Atlas?
Well,
No, I won't listen to Atlas. I refuse. And then the game didn't progress, and I was like, fine, I'll listen to Atlas. And I really reluctantly went through that game, I think because of my mindset, but it I couldn't complete it because I just couldn't be bothered.
Oh my, okay. Me and Rob now completely understand why you're saying this, because you
Even I
have
do.
to complete it to understand everything, because you have literally explained
How
all,
good the subtle
without
story writing
spoilers,
is.
that is exactly how you are supposed to feel.
Yeah, but there's no reason for me to want to progress.
That's partly why.
Well, we can't have this
it's not
conversation.
it's not like they
that's-
designed it
that's
for you to not enjoy
that's
it.
not-
No.
But
It's if a game isn't motivating me enough to want to complete it, and the only way it reveals my character motivation is for me to complete it, then that's not how you should be designing your main character.
I can see your point, but I think part of the thing about Bioshock is one is it does fail to motivate to a certain degree. But I think we have to factor in the fact that it's quite dated.
Well, I could get over that. Like, the gameplay was fun, but I was just like, what? Why am I here? What am I doing?
It's supposed to be
That's
the
kind of the point,
curiosity
is
that drives you.
Well,
Yes.
Yeah.
but there wasn't
It's like the light in the crack of the door. You just want to see where the light is coming from, and it's always that.
there wasn't.
the kind of-
I wasn't curious enough about anything. Basically, like, nothing. I think maybe because, like, I think that's where the hype bit came in, because I was like, well, this isn't as good as everyone was saying it is. I don't really get this. Like, what's going on?
The thing is, for games like that, because I haven't played Bioshock 1, but I imagine it has a very similar feel to Half-Life and other games kind of like that. The thing that drives you is a sense of, like, you want to survive. There's, like, you want to progress and you want to survive, so it's this kind of
there's a
slow
definite
struggle
goal.
through it.
No, there's a definite goal in Half-Life.
to reach the top. But I think that's the only thing that I had in my head when I was playing it.
Get out of the landing
Yeah.
complex. Yeah.
And with Bioshock, your goal is kind of like, where the fuck am I? What is this? I basically discovered Atlantis.
Yeah, but I was just like, why? Okay, so, like, my mindset was, because I think in Bioshock, like, you're actually some guy that's lived in Rapture for ages, and you're like a sleeper agent or something. I can't
Pretty
even
much.
remember, but like, that isn't explained to you at all. And I guess, like, for pacing purposes, that makes sense. But I was, like, just going into it as though I was just, myself in that scenario, say.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, I just survived a plane crash. Oh, there's some dry land over there. Let's go over there. Because I can't go anywhere else because all this fire's in the way. And then I go down, and something tries to kill me as soon as I step out of the bather thing.
Bathysphere.
And I was like, nope, fuck that, I'm going back up. And it just wouldn't let you go back up. And I was like,
What
why
were you
can't I
expecting
get
to
out
go
of
back
here?
up and then
Well,
sit outside the lighthouse
no,
for the
no,
rest
You
of
were
the
expecting
like,
it to have
there was-
basically constructed the game to be constructed so you could do anything. Like, if you want to go home, like, back to America and adopt a dog, you wanted the game to have that option in it.
no, yeah, I mean, not that open, obviously, but, like, there was no, for...
Your player agency is incredibly odd when you play
Yeah,
games.
I have weird agency.
I thought
mean, like,
mine
It's
was
very odd.
When
like,
you sat down to play Amnesia, did you see the monster and go, no, I just want to walk out the front door
He
again?
just wanted to have a dinner party.
Well, no, I'd say Amnesia has very good. My agency with Amnesia was exactly what Daniel's was in that.
Who's Daniel?
The main character of Amnesia.
I think I also have to ask, how many of the audio logs did you actually listen to?
Most of them,
Because
of the ones that I found at least.
Goddamn splicers.
the
Goddamn
splice.
splicers. Jeez. Andrew Ryan.
I just felt that it had very not bad conveyance, just like misguided conveyance.
You got to be careful, Will. With
Like,
your
it was
unpopular
trying
opinions.
to. Yeah, well, that's Bioshock's critically acclaimed, which is why I feel
Yeah.
bad for
Rambo
saying this.
alert.
I get you.
So conveyance is where, like, you know what's happening and you know where to go next because the game can convey that to you without just telling you everything. And I felt that it didn't necessarily do that well.
It tells you to pick up a wrench and everything.
What? That isn't
like-
conveyance.
Yeah, but it gives you an idea of what to,
Not exactly conveyance.
where to
Well,
go, what
yeah.
to do.
This
Just goes,
actually
could you pick up something and then it's in the spotlight?
this actually leads quite nicely onto what I wanted to talk about. So I'll have to ask you: would you kindly stop poking holes in Bioshock?
Sure.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. He has no choice now.
Yeah, he doesn't have a choice. We have to carry on.
Yeah. No, I was done anyway. Like,
Yeah, I thought you were.
Me.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it worked.
With the even though you haven't obviously seen it, the ending to Bioshock. This is something that struck me when I finished Arkham Origins. Actually, that a lot of games that, especially that I have played recently, I don't know about games that have come out recently, but I've kind of been lampooned with sort of a, oh, look, you saved the world, now the world is happy and clappy, and it doesn't suit a lot of environments of the games that I've been playing. For example, they've all been dark and gritty things like Bioshock, Torchlight, and Batman, and then I've been presented with, you saved the world, congratulations, here's a bunch of flowers. Whereas I can see where the developers are trying to come from, but a lot of games also, like, for example, going along the Batman vein with Arkham City, where you're presented with a very grim ending, and it's like, congratulations, you finished the game, but you didn't exactly do what you were intending to do. And it's the same with games like Fear and Assassin's Creed and all sorts of things. And basically the thing I wanted to discuss was, do you find that fairy tale endings or their counterpart, the grim dark endings, do they add to the environment of a game? Do they take away from the environment of a game?
They have to be well written, but if it is in a kind of context where the world is really dark and lots of fucked up things happen, and it just does a U-turn, and it doesn't even bother justifying it very well, I hate that. Ruins the game.
yeah, like when, like, I can't think of an example, but yeah, like when it like turns from, like when even the landscape changes from dark and gritty to like rolling green fields and flowers and shit. Like a visual representation could not be more accurate. Yeah, no, it's very annoying when that shit happens. And yeah, no, I'd say like there's a lot of games where it can work. Trying to think.
Well, whilst you think, I know an example of a game that has a fucking awful ending, but it does it so well. I think I mentioned it before, Drakengard for the PS2. Basically...
I think you've talked about it
it's
before.
basically you're slowly walking towards the end of the world, and it has 5 different endings, and each is depressing and vivid and horrible as the next. Like one of them, his sister turns into like this massive creepy monster. The battle's really, really hard. It took me tons of tries. I beat her. And then at the end, he's just holding her corpse. And then suddenly 200 of this one powerful creature appear out of nowhere and just swarm around him. And that's one of the endings. And another has all these like crazy, massive, giant baby monsters. And then he dies trying to kill one of them after everyone else in his party's been crushed and everything.
Yeah.
It does it really well. It does a bad ending really well.
To add to your question, Rob, I'd say it depends on what has been put at stake by the game up until that point. Like, if it's like, the fate of the world is at balance, or, and you're like, you've got to save the world from horrible shit happening, and then you beat the game and it happens, and as in, like, everything's fine and happy again now, then I'd say that's not too out of place, but it does depend on the tone. Like, if it's trying to be kind of cliche, then I'd say it's not out of place there. But when it's like, you do some missions for some people or something, and then everything is good. There is no evil in the world anymore. And like, yeah, then it's really out of place.
Yeah, I think the case I'd put in point is comparing, say, the endings to the Fable games, which I know is a bad example to start with, but
I like Fable
games
1.
to say the ending of the Batman games.
All right. Do you want to run us through the examples then?
Yeah.
And spoiler alerts for anybody who gives
I'll
a
try
shit
to avoid
about
as many
Fable.
spoilers as possible.
Don't make Peter Molyneux cry again.
After that cube fiasco, he deserves a good cry.
Deserves a good spank.
But Fable 1, yeah. Big deal with the ending. You save the day, it's all good. Fable 2, everything's a little bit grimdark towards the end, and it's like you lose something important to you to say, well, you don't even have to lose something important to you. You basically choose the sacrifice you have to make in order to redeem other things. And I liked that in a game. Fable 3 comes along and goes, yeah, basically whatever you choose, the world is screwed. And I did not agree with that. That disappointed me as an ending entirely.
Well, didn't Fable 3 have the problem of, like, no matter what you did, you still, like, in the second half of the game after you became king, no matter what you did, you sort of still came off as an asshole?
Yes.
Like, if...
Yeah, because you can never please
like,
everybody.
there was
so.
no... there was no agency in that, where, like, you couldn't be like, we're gonna spend resources to bolster defenses against this big evil thing that's coming, but don't worry, guys, next year, once it's all over, we'll be okay. Like, there was no...
Yeah.
You couldn't, like, tell your people that this is why you were doing the things that you were doing.
Yeah, you can either be unhappy and dead...
happy and dead,
or unhappy and
alive. Yeah.
And
There was
your
no...
people don't seem to understand that.
Yeah. Which felt really disingenuous.
Yeah. And take that, like, in comparison to the endings to the Batman trilogy, which I can really relate to because it's the latest game series that I finished, which is... I'll cover the first two games first, even though it's not chronological, but Arkham Asylum basically presents you with, you've beaten this plan, but you're not done yet. It's sort of a... You can tell they intended on making a second game, because it's like, congratulations, you saved everything, but your job's not done yet.
Well, actually, I think it's because there's so many unlockable stuff you're supposed to continue
Yeah, you're
playing
supposed to
after
feel
you
like you
complete
can
it.
carry on.
Like, there's still just a little bit of messed up stuff still around that you need to clean up.
And then Arkham City does that even better, because it basically like the plot of Arkham City is Warden Strange basically goes, I know who you are, Batman, and I'm going to tell everyone, and I'm going to have a plan to take over the city, and you have to foil him. And then things get a little bit twisted, and it's like, you get to the ending, and it's like, I've saved my identity. Like, I'm still here to help the city, but at what cost?
Yeah.
And the ending to that feels great, because basically you then roam around the city, finishing up all the tasks you didn't do, and it feels like Batman is lost and has nothing. He has no idea what to do next, because he just wanders around this empty city full of criminals.
I might as well spoil... Well, let's not spoil it because it's old as hell, but like the whole Joker thing where Joker poisons you with his blood, and it's kind of like a ties that bind thing where you both have to get the cure, and Batman doesn't kill people, so he wouldn't let Joker just die, and he uses the cure on himself, and then Joker fucks around and he messes up his cure, and so Batman has no choice but to watch Joker die unwillingly in his hands, and then he's like, well, I sort of killed him, but I didn't kill him. But his death is on my hands,
sort of
like my
you
blood.
can't
The
save
blood is on my
everyone,
hands, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then like the ending is perfect because he just like leaves Joker's body to the police and then just walks off, and you just assume he's just going to carry on. But there's always like a looming sense when you're carrying on afterwards
actually,
that all the people are talking about it.
They elucidate on that in Harley Quinn's Revenge, where you play as Robin, and it's basically like Batman is like utterly depressed in his failings that he basically ends up being outsmarted by Harley Quinn, which is unthinkable. And Robin ends up coming to his aid, and he's like, "Are you all right now? Are you back to yourself?" And he's like, "No." So it's very, very grim ending. But then Arkham Origins kind of turns it on its head, but in a really good way. Because, for example, like the threat doesn't feel terribly big in Arkham City, because for the first half of the game it's personal. For the second half of the game, it's like, oh, if I don't do something, Gotham's going to be in the shit.
Yeah.
And then Arkham City is Gotham City. Arkham Origins is Gotham City under attack by mercenaries hunting the Batman. And it feels fairly big. Like, this is your home under attack by people who are out to kill you, and they're endangering civilians because of you.
Yeah.
And it gets very grim at the end. You get this whole race against time sort of thing, and you beat the game, and the ending is incredibly satisfying because you get to beat the living shit out of Joker's face.
And it's silly, like
just,
button
it's
mash
literally
thing.
just sit there and mash the X button.
It's so cartoony because they like speed up the animation and everything.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Do they even have like a wham wallop?
No, but it sounds like it.
That'd be funny if it did actually.
Bazam!
Yeah, but like that whole sequence is incredibly satisfying, and then it's like you get to the end, and it's like you come face to face with Gordon, and Gordon lets you go instead of taking you in. And it's like the ending. You're treated to like him talking to Barbara about. It's like, I let him go because you believe in him, Barbara. I might not believe in him, but maybe he can give the people out there hope. And then Batman flies off into the distance, and it's like, yeah, I achieved something. I'm Batman. I saved the city. And then it's like, hold on, this is a build-up to Arkham City.
Yeah, you never really stop Joker at all.
No,
Like,
it's like you
let him
save
off,
Joker's
essentially.
life, and he gets carted off to Blackgate. But you know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
And
I did like the part when there's a part where you're sort of standing over Joker, punching him, and he like sees the version of Batman where he's like this dark monster.
the gargoyle, yeah.
Yeah, that bit's really cool.
I think I've been thinking about this a little bit while you were talking, Rob, in regards to your earlier question about the way that a game turns when it comes towards the end. I think it depends on how much closure it gives. Like, if you finish the game and everything's sunshine and rainbows, but it doesn't explain why everything is suddenly sunshine and rainbows, and there's been no hints that would happen up until that point, then I'd say it's bad.
Yeah.
But if there is a context to why everything gets better once you beat the game, then it's not so bad, I wouldn't say. And I think it also depends on what happens to your characters. One of my favorite games of all time, Final Fantasy Tactics, the ending of that game is amazing. Like, the whole game is very multi-directional in terms of like who's the bad guy, and there's like there's tons of political stuff going on, but basically you get to the end of the game and you kill Ultima, you kill all of the big evil things that are in the stones you've been collecting, and you're treated with not a cutscene per se, like a sort of reel of shit that happened after the game finished.
Yeah.
And the stuff that happened, like at the end of MGS games, where it's like explains what happens afterwards, and it's like a timeline or whatever. And basically what that explains is once you've finished like everything, and I can't remember where you fight the final fight, but I think it's in the sky. And it's like once you get back down to Earth and like try and continue to resolve the problems with the church, because the whole game you're basically fighting against the church, and the church are trying to like take over Ivalice, which is the world of Final Fantasy Tactics. And this reel of stuff that happens to all your characters, and it basically just says everybody gets branded a heretic by the church and executed.
That is dark. Very dark, especially for, hasn't it got a very kind of soft, almost cartoony style?
Yeah, but the whole the whole tone to the game is really dark throughout. Like, you're collecting all of these stones, which are supposed to be holy relics, and then it turns out they have demons inside them, like from the Nether realm, and they have names like Belias Gygus,
so
and they're fucking terrifying.
Accidentally fuck up. They try and save the world, and they're just like, oh, whoops.
Well, the whole game you're working against the church, and you're trying to make the people of Ivalice realize that the church are controlling the political scene from behind the stage or whatever. They're pulling all the strings behind every politician, and if they get this Auracite stuff, this magic crystal stuff, then they'll be able to like rule the world, basically.
I rule the world.
And yeah, so you get to the end of the game, and there's this wonderful sense of closure, because it's like, shit. like on the one hand you feel like you've accomplished nothing, on the other hand you feel like you've accomplished everything. And the whole like everybody dies thing, everybody either dies or goes missing. It's suggested that your main character survives, but you're unsure. And like, basically one of your party members is a scholar, and he like chronicles your whole adventure that you had in the game into a book, which is what a character in the opening cutscene of the game is reading, which brings it full circle. And then it says, once he finished writing the book, he presented it to the church. The church branded him a heretic and put him to the stake as well.
Fuck's sake.
And then they took the book and locked it away like in a crypt somewhere, and it's only now that this scholar's like last descendant like finds this book and unravels the true everything that happened, all of this like 100 years ago or whatever. So yeah, like the church still wins at the end of FF Tactics, but it still feels like a win for you as well. It's a really weird ending, but it's not out of place.
Yeah, speaking of endings, the whole time you've been talking about this one, I've just been thinking about the Mass Effect 3 ending, where it ends with that person saying, "And there you go, son."
We don't talk about the Mass Effect.
Please choose your favourite coloured lollipop.
Doesn't fucking matter what you choose, man, but choose, man.
And then you will save the world.
Seriously, though, why did it... It's so cliche with the whole, well, Billy, and that's the end of that. I actually... The one thing that I have done this week that relates to gaming is I watched a bit of a panel where they were talking about that. They came out and everyone booed.
Nice.
And they're just like, oh no, man, we stand by the integrity of our writers, and so here's our head writer. Boo! Seriously though,
who will present behind this bulletproof glass.
I think another good ending to, like, within the same context of tactics, though, is Final Fantasy 12, which takes place in the same setting as FF Tactics, Ivalice. Like 500 years after Final Fantasy Tactics is FF12. And that game just feels like a big adventure. And the ending of that game is, hey, there's another adventure waiting for us, let's go.
Kind of like the ending
And
of
that has, like... I haven't seen that.
It's really cool, because they defeat Shao Kahn, and then he appears in the sky, and it plays this really awesome song, and they're like, oh my god, we gotta fight him, and then the credits roll.
No, not like that at all. No, it's like you stop a war between two realms, and then, but the whole time it's just felt like this grand adventure, because you're Vaan, and Vaan's like a 18-year-old kid who wants to like go on adventures and shit. And
I call a good 18-year-old kid.
But Balthier, the sky pirate who's like a party member, like he disappears in the final cutscene. And then he leaves a note to Vaan that's like, I'm going after the cache of Glabados. Come with me if you can find me. And it's like, yeah, Balthier!
Don't know what the fuck he's on about, but I'm up for that.
Well, and then like there's a cameo appearance of Balthier in Final Fantasy Tactics where he's still talking about the cache of Glabados and he somehow managed to go back in time, which is really funny. I'd say that has really good closure as well, because it's like you don't need to know what the next adventure is, but you know that these characters carry on just like doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
It's when a game ends and you're like, well, what does anybody even fucking do now? Like, unless it ends with everybody dying, there's no, like, does everybody just grow old and die? Like, what happens? So, yeah, I think it depends on the closure.
I would agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, like, bringing it back to Bioshock, the ending for Infinite, whatever.
Yeah, that has good closure, I'd say.
It's so good that it literally can just continue on forever.
Yeah.
Like the whole idea of the game finishes off, and it's all interpretation, because God knows what else could have happened, sort of thing. Like, there's a million different circumstances where it could have been different.
And
I haven't seen it.
Teasing the end of Burial at Sea.
Don't do it!
No, I can't. But, the ending to Burial at Sea is a reward for playing all of the Bioshock games. Because you start going through it and going, this looks a bit familiar. And then you get to the end of the game and you go, oh,
I really want to finish it now.
Yeah, because I haven't played them or seen the end of Infinite. I just like to imagine at the end he just finds another card, goes on another adventure.
Pretty much. Seriously, that
card.
Pretty much happens. Like, after the end credits, that pretty much happens. Like,
and is it as crudely drawn?
It can be assumed he just continues.
Yeah.
Which I like. I like endings where it ends on a sort of assumption, your definition of the ending sort of thing. Like, that's the same with, I'm going to bring it up again, is Gone Home. The ending to that. You kind of just get a very heartfelt letter at the end, and then you can only assume what happened to her and
that
your
actually
sister.
kind of reminds me of the ending of Ocarina of Time, because he goes back to being a kid and just walks off and leaves the Master Sword.
Well, there's like multiple endings to that.
Well, I like...
Technically.
I like the fucking one where he's a kid and he walks off, because it's just like, he gets his childhood
you
back.
can choose a timeline where you think what you think
but I mean,
happened.
that in itself,
is what I like about it.
This single one is just such a great, simple ending.
Yeah. Well, it's good because she turns into a kid, so he can enjoy his childhood without full of battles and bloodshed and shit.
Green men.
And then he runs into the Skull Kid.
And then he fucks up.
Yeah, and then the world ends, and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah. So he spends all his childhood doing that. Thanks, Sully. bitch.
With great power comes great responsibility.
You must hate life, seriously. Having the power to control time.
There's a really interesting ending to an anime called Bacano. Who?
Shh, spoilers.
I'm
not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it. But because of the way that the story is composed, it's very unconventional, and it makes the original ending of Bacano very confusing because it just ends. Yeah. So originally Bacano was 14 episodes, and then they made 2 more episodes because nobody understood the ending to Bacano. And then the 2 more episodes that they make fill in a couple of the blanks and like give it some proper closure. And I like both endings. Like I love the extra closure of the extra 2 episodes. A lot of people don't. But I like the original ending as well, because if you've been following the way that the way that the story has been composed up until that point, then you don't actually need the closure. Like the way that it just ends is just like, yeah, that. Like you're kind of like, what? There should be another episode. What happens to all these characters? But you don't actually need to know what happens to them. It's just nice to know with the extra 2 episodes. So I'd say that's one where it kind of works either way.
Yeah, that was one thing. I got a lot of people, once I finished watching the anime Clannad, to sit down and watch it. And the ending to Clannad doesn't make an awful lot of sense. Unless you've played the game, because the anime is basically like a compilation of all the things that happen in the sim game. But the whole point of the sim game is that you get to every single ending and you get all these flags and all these lights, and then the true ending happens. And they kind of tried to put that into the anime, and it was like you sit down and you watch it as an anime and you go, hold on, why did this suddenly get all like mysterious and weird and stuff? And then, like, once you've played the game, it kind of makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But that was one game I felt... one anime that I felt didn't really give closure unless you understood why it was closure.
Almost sound like it's a cult simulator with a name like that. Clannad, come on, join our clan. You get the best ending by recruiting the most members.
It's amazing how many times you tell people, oh, you should watch Clannad, and they Google Clannad, and they just get the Irish folk band.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
To be fair, they're quite good.
Yeah, they are. I have one of their albums. I haven't seen Clannad, but you keep talking to me about it.
Yeah.
I think another anime with really good closure is Cowboy Bebop. God, the ending to that's good.
I've not seen it, but I've heard it's very good. But at the same time,
Well, again, it like closes all the ties.
Yeah.
Well, would you be mad if I said I still haven't watched the last 3 episodes?
What? Really? Really? Presumably at this point you've like
I need to rewatch it.
Yeah, you need to
everything that happened.
Like fucking 6 months ago you were like, oh, I'm watching Cowboy Bebop, and I was like, cool, and then you got to like episode 23 or some 20, I can't even remember.
21.
You watched the film?
Yes.
Yeah, like the episode after the film or something.
Because it was the day you went to university, because I bought the DVD.
Yeah. And
there's no excuse.
And I was like, yeah, so you got like 2 episodes left, they're really good, you should watch them next, and you still haven't fucking watched them.
6 months later, no.
Fuck.
It's really strange how you forget endings to like the really kind of more intricate stories, because I've seen Bacano and I can't remember the ending at all, and I've seen Ergo Proxy all the way through twice, and I love that anime, but I can't for the life of me remember what happens at the end.
Do you actually pay attention when you watch things?
Yes. I pay attention to
have that
everything.
problem.
That's the problem. I store so much of the kind of side stories and
He
little.
cares too
Exactly.
much, Will.
Peter Serafinovich ain't got shit on.
I'm gonna hijack this now.
Go for it.
Talking of Cowboy Bebop, I watched an anime called Space Dandy. If any of you have heard of it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I
so
haven't-
Space
I haven't watched
Dandy
it yet.
is really unique because it was the first I've heard of an anime being localized and released in the US before Japan.
It sounds
Wait,
disgusting.
really?
It was it was actually aired or broadcast before the Japanese version.
Weird.
So the dubbed version was done the same time, if not before, the Japanese version, even though it's animated by a Japanese studio.
Very weird.
And it's essentially a comedy like Cowboy
Well, it's
Bebop.
made by the same guy, isn't it?
It's made by the director of Samurai Champloo.
Ooh.
But it's not in that style. It's not a serious. It's a very comedy, haha, boobies and stuff. Like there's a restaurant called Boobies in it.
Simple,
And
straight to the point.
yeah, it's just this kind of cocky guy called Space Dandy who just goes around hunting aliens, and it's just this odd mash of sci-fi comedy and like making fun of tropes and sort of other culture stuff
Sounds kinda
from
like,
like sci-fi movies
Gintama.
and stuff. Yeah, it's Gintama mixed with Cowboy Bebop. That's the best way to describe it.
Gintama was amazing.
It's good. It's pretty interesting, and the dub isn't half bad. Especially the robot that's auto-tuned is like a woman with an auto-tuned voice, and like
God, that just
it's
give me flashbacks to Saints Row 3.
and some of the episodes are really like weird. Like they just go to a planet and shit happens. They find a monster and they and there's one where they go to like this character's planet who's like they call Meow, who's just like some sort of cat creature with a hat. And the odd thing about the planet is time doesn't like continue. They just repeat the same day over and over again.
Right.
And they go there and they just keep reliving the same day over and over again. And then like Meow says, "Oh, I think I know the reason why I left this planet, because I'm just doing this monotonous sort of day-to-day thing, and it's just because the planet isn't moving and time just loops like some sort of black hole sort of thing where time just loops around." And it's really like, for a comedy, it's really touching because it's about him going back to his roots and trying to figure out if he wants to join his family's sort of tradition of working like in a steel mill, but he wants to like explore the galaxy.
Yeah.
But he knows if he works in a steel mill, he'll be doing it for the rest of his life, just stuck in this cycle until he dies.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting, and it's like really quite sad at the end when he like says goodbye to them all to leave.
Huh.
And there's like odd things like that where they kind of inject small sort of narratives into the overall. It's a comedy about some random guy in space.
The guy that writes Gintama, he's notorious for being able to write really good comedy, but at the same time have it right next to some really kind of deep and hard-hitting tragedy aspects as well.
I think that comes with the territory of being a good comedy writer. I'd like to think as good comedy you can make, you could contrast that with something like really sort of heart-wrenching, just because you're used to that kind of thing.
Well,
I feel that
I think it's the extreme version of like comic relief.
Yeah, like the polar opposite of comic relief.
Like where instead of it being comic relief, it's like serious relief or something.
Yeah, it's like sort of tipping the scale from just being wacky to kind of lighthearted. Because Cowboy Bebop was lighthearted, but this is a bit more. This is actually a bit more in the wacky than lighthearted. But Cowboy Bebop always has that kind of lighthearted charm, like the dog and
every
the
episode
banter
is
they
a
have.
new adventure.
Yeah, that's the same as this. Every episode starts anew. And also, none of the episodes have an ending. They just kind of Like, one of the endings is they're on a planet that's about to blow up, and then it's it. And then it goes on to the next episode. Like, it's literally just making fun of stuff like that.
That sounds pretty cool.
'Cause that's the only way you can really
there's
see it.
If you think about it, like, in a chronological way, there's no way that these characters could have survived or whatever. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. It's interesting to see an anime actually debut in America rather than Japan.
Yeah, that is weird. I'm pretty sure that I've heard that people from Cowboy Bebop were working on it, though.
Maybe, yeah. But it's animation-wise, it's from the Samurai Champloo folks.
So does it look similar?
Character-wise, yeah. It's not got that... I think Champloo had a very sort of... Not a dark, but...
It had a kind of a really urban feel
to
to just the way some of the characters were made, like Mugen's arms and everything.
Yeah. Also, Samurai Champloo also had a bunch of light-hearted stuff in it, like, mixed in. And it also made fun of a lot of pop culture stuff, even though it was in feudal Japan. It still made fun of, like, modern pop culture stuff,
like
which was really
the episode
clever.
with the Americans is amazing.
Yeah.
They're just kind of...
The rapping,
Yeah.
the guy with the rapping, they're like holding his little box and he comes out and starts rapping.
Yeah.
That's a good series. I want to watch that again. I watched the series twice now.
Yeah.
It's still one of my favourite series.
I haven't seen it. Although, talking about, like, the occasional serious tones in comedy.
Oh, by the way, you're right. The writer for Cowboy Bebop did the scripts for most of the episodes. Cool.
Nichijou is another anime that is...
Oh, the one I've
it's
seen clips from
hilarious.
that, yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I fucking love Nichijou. But, like, there's a few episodes or a few sketches which, like, don't have a punchline and are actually just about the characters and, like, shit that's going on in their lives and stuff. And some of it is really, like, touching.
Yep.
Like, especially the ending. I won't ruin it.
Is it an ending? Is it, like, chronological, or is it just, like, sketches?
It's... I love Nichijou because it's, like, an animated sketch show that follows a set of, like, predetermined characters and their everyday lives, basically. That's what Nichijou means. It means everyday life. So... You can just play the episodes in any order, but if you do play them chronologically, then there is a chronology.
There are also little Easter eggs that you'll notice if you play them in chronological order.
Yeah, like little callbacks to other episodes and stuff. And there's like... I don't want to ruin the ending because it's really charming, but... For it to... it had been sort of building up to this ending for a few episodes, and for it to do that, like, in between all of these amazing jokes and, like, sketches and stuff was, like, really clever, I thought. And they didn't feel out of place as it was going along. I think Nichijou is one of my favourite comedy series of all time.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that entire show, especially, like, the fact that it's not often that a sketch show like that brings you closure for the characters, but I don't think there was a single character that we didn't know the ending for.
Yeah, or
like, every character felt fully fleshed out.
Yeah, and there's a good 30-odd characters.
Yeah. Like, even that Mohawk dude.
Yeah.
Like, you actually care about him, even though he appears in, like, 5 skits total. Including the one where he falls in a hole.
And then gets his Mohawk shaved off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's really funny, actually, because it's like... There's, like, a side part to that story where, like, a bunch of girls... think he's really hot because he's got a mohawk, and they're like, yeah, he's so punk. I'd like to date a man like that. And then he gets his mohawk shaved off when he falls in a hole, so then he's just bald. And the irony of them always calling him punk is that he's actually just really polite, and that his mohawk is natural. He hasn't actually shaved his normal hair into a mohawk. It just grows that way.
I like that.
And he's like this polite young man. And then the girls like go to like confess to him, and they like open the door, and he's not got a mohawk anymore, and their jaws just drop.
Like, nope. Nothing to see here.
So there's little like build-ups to stuff like that. But like sometimes when I'm bored, I'll just like watch a random episode, and it'll still make me laugh. Like the jokes just don't get old.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
The principal versus
the deer. Yeah, I think that's the best, like one of the funniest things in the whole series. If you haven't,
I still find the funniest one is the budgie that just lands and says, "I'm finally getting used to this body." It's just incredible.
yeah. So if you haven't,
It's the one
if you-
liners, just the witty one.
yeah, if you haven't seen Nichiju, there's hundreds of clips of the show on YouTube, so just look it up.
Just seriously, just go watch any of them.
The parakeet one, where it's just like she's in a corridor and a parakeet lands next to her, and she looks at it and she's like, "Oh, parakeet," and then the parakeet just goes like with a robotic voice, "I'm finally getting used to this body." End of sketch. It's beautiful. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's just her face. Just,
Oh, brilliant.
You know, I should really watch Gintama as well.
you
I
definitely
know
should.
you've constantly told
There's
me,
a
and I've
lot of
always
episodes
ignored
as
it,
well.
but yes, it keeps going. It's
I
still
thought it
going
ended.
forever. I don't know.
Because my brother's been
I-
watching it, and
I
he
don't know
says,
where the end
"Oh
is."
yeah." So, I don't know.
How does it actually have a storyline, or is it just like random things every episode?
Initially, it has a storyline that
Does it
concerns
have an underlinings of a
aliens
narrative?
quite strongly, and then later on, it's just like, nah, it's just whatever the fuck they want, which is cool. Like all the episodes with the Shogun are amazing. It's just go watch it right now. Stop doing this bloody thing and go watch it.
What?
Does it have a dub?
What's it called?
Do you want to kill yourself? It's called Gintama.
Cool. I'll have to check it out.
I want to see what the dub is like.
It's like,
All
seriously,
of the
if you
jokes
haven't
probably
seen
wouldn't
it,
translate.
just pause this podcast, go away, watch the
Dislike this
however many
video.
episodes there are, then come back.
Pause it.
Yeah,
watch
and then
all
we'll
of it. Come back. Okay, you watched it. Cool. Wasn't that amazing?
All
How
200
Yeah, I
and
was-
something
that
episodes.
show?
It was alright, but it wasn't as good as I thought
I
it
don't
would
like this
be.
guy.
I think we hyped it up too much.
You're hyped.
See, this is why this sort of information shouldn't be available on the internet.
Oh, bringing it full circle. I see what you did.
What would you do without me on this show?
Have
I
fun.
don't know.
I think
Probably
we
have
found a
more
good
budget.
replacement for me. I'm going on holiday for next year.
That's a fantastic question, Will. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. My response is.
So
So we have discussed an array of intelligent, tangible topics, and we've also. I think this is the first episode where we've talked about something that isn't related to video games.
Which is
Jeez.
good because like
It's a first.
I wanna like move away. Well, not move away
on with my
entirely
life.
from gaming topics. Just like
expand.
expand. Yeah.
Swell up,
Expand our horizons.
Expand
fill with
on.
gas.
And the acquisition of Rob is part of our expansion.
We have assimilated.
The merger.
We're
Our merging partnership with Rocking Gecko's Productions.
Oh, please
Oh
don't.
boy.
Boy, howdy.
You don't want what we're selling.
That's the point. Tell us about your channel because I'm confused.
what?
That would be really good if an interview would be like, tell me about your brand new movie debuting because I'm confused.
Because I have no
I
idea
just
who
don't get
you
it.
are.
I don't know what's going on. Who are
Seriously
What-
though, Rocking Geckos, what do you do?
Rocky Geckos, essentially, we're sort of on hiatus at the moment. We occasionally
you? Fantastic.
Oh, brilliant.
we occasionally do streaming stuff. But basically, my other half of my partnership is currently busy moving in with his new squeeze. So problems with coordination. And basically, I'm the only person who can make content, but unfortunately, my computer objects to me making content most of the
Sounds
time.
like a fantastic channel, Rob.
Sounds like what you need is 3 content makers to make content for you.
Oh, that's probably not going to happen.
I'll buy your company for a dime.
In all seriousness,
I can send you a photo of my ass.
For only $1 a month, Brian will send you
Fiverr,
a photo of his ass.
Not even $1. This one's free.
First one's free.
But the low angle, that'll cost you.
Sorry, you were saying, Rob.
But yes, in all seriousness, I think with our channel being on hiatus at the moment, I'm seriously just considering doing a reboot and restarting from scratch because I had some great ideas before we were went on hiatus that I don't really need a partner to continue with, so I might just start doing my own solo stuff.
Oh my
Just
god.
save the
Yeah.
music
breaking
for
out.
streaming.
Do it. Break out. Do your own thing.
Spread your wings.
Be your own boss. Fly into the horizon
the
that is
sun.
YouTube Media.
Well, actually, that's what I did. I used to be with a small gaming channel called Facetious Gaming, and then I wound up just making my own channel and doing my own thing.
Just being SerAaron.
Let's diss Facetious Gaming. I don't know who they are.
What
Don't
happened
know
to
what they are.
what meeting was Facetious Gaming?
Oh,
The final name.
Oh.
for your...
We were like, we're gonna make a gaming channel. What should we call it? Let's think of a word to put in front of gaming.
Hey,
Bloated Gaming.
it's not as cool as the magazine name that my group in A-Level Media came up with. They called it Ecstatic.
It's
the magazine that makes you super ecstatic. Super gay.
That sounds like the
Get
title
it?
of a teen magazine, to be honest.
Yeah, it had photos of Corey and Ben, the boring
damn
British guy who just
Corey.
goes to barn dances.
What?
He's not attractive at all.
Exclusive articles on goddamn splicers.
Goddamn splicers.
just the article. Just goddamn splicers and counts.
Hot or not?
Is Andrew Ryan a real person or not? Would you kindly buy the subscription to this magazine?
I don't like it, but I just keep buying it.
Alright, I think our conversations are dissolving into nonsense.
Dissolving into intelligent, coherent psychopath.
What do you mean dissolving? They were incoherent before.
You're dissing our podcast, right? We let you on.
Alright,
I'm only a special guest. I don't have to stick around.
yeah, you can fuck off.
I could just go. I could just like, see ya.
Alright, if you've managed to reach this far,
Well
congratulations.
We're going to send you
If,
£50.
if I ever meet you in real life, I'll buy
your
you
dick.
half of a cookie.
Only if I can have the other half.
Yeah, if I meet 2 of you at the same time, then we're fucked. But,
Some I'm gonna have to pull out some mathematics. You know what I mean?
You two can have half a cookie, and I'll have a whole cookie.
I'll just sit there salivating in front of you.
All right. I think Will has a point.
All right.
This needs
Yeah.
to stop.
we need to stop opening our mouths and sounds coming out. Thanks for listening, guys.
Well, at least we didn't talk about. Oh shit!
Come on.
God damn. Or Dragon's
Hey.
Dogma.
You watch your damn mouth.
Shut the fuck up, Brian.
But yes, many thanks to our special guest, Robert, for sitting with us and enduring this wonderful slew of shit.
Yeah, that's true. Thanks
for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
May your future endeavors be wonderful.
Goodbye.
And clean.
Bye.
Say goodbye, guys.
Hello!
Bye, guys.
Fuck off.
Hello.
Hello! Right, that's enough.